Okay, welcome to another video with Happy Histories with Michael and Christian. And today we're right in the centre of the City of London. And behind me we see St. Paul's Cathedral, and here we have Sir Rowland Hill. Why is he here? He's here because this building here was the head of the post office at one point. And Sir Rowland Hill, he had a huge influence on the postage system in his day. But I'll come to that in a little while. First of all, I want to tell you a little bit about him. He was born in Kidderminster, Worcestershire, in the 1790s, and he was brought up there. And his father was an educationalist, and he went into the same field. And they were quite revolutionary in that instead of learning by rote and being whacked with canes, they had a philosophy whereby there was more care than caning, and moral influence over fear. And it was their idea in a child's education to give them enough basic knowledge so that their whole lives could be a process of self-education. In the 1830s, he was asked to to look into the postal service, because the postal service up until that time was very hit and miss. The upper classes, they had a kind of a franking system at the government and so on. But the way that it actually worked was the person who wrote the letter would actually have to pay in advance. No, excuse me. The person who received the letter would have to pay for the letter. And not everybody could afford it. And now there's a story about Sir Rowland, and at one point he saw a young girl, and she received from the postmaster a letter, clearly from her lover. She looked at it, kissed it, and gave it back because she couldn't afford to pay the postage. And the story goes that this moved him so much that he endeavoured to find an affordable, safe, speedy way of delivering mail to the general public. And in fact, at that time, some people, they used to pull a fast one. They were a bit crafty, and they knew that it was an expensive proposal, so they would send the letter, but on the outside there'd be a little bit of code, and the person would kind of look at it, oh, sorry, I can't afford it, hand it back, but they had got the message. But anyway, Sir Rowland, he came up with an idea which he forwarded to the government, and he proposed that rather than a few people paying a lot of money for their postage, he proposed a cheaper way that would be, in the long run, more profitable. So in 1840, despite having a lot of resistance to this, his idea was accepted. And it's because of him that we have the penny black postage stamp. 1 penny, and you could send your letter all over England, Ireland and Scotland. And it's because of him that the country is littered with post boxes like this. And we have got letter boxes in our houses. Years ago you wouldn't be able to afford it. Actually, one of the advantages you have with an old boy like me telling you about these things is because I can remember what it was like in the olden days. And I was brought up by nuns, and we were given pens like Sir Rowland has there. And the nuns at the industrial school and the boarding schools where I was, they would actually write the letters when we were very small on the board, and we'd have to copy them out. And in my youth, I remember receiving letters, and it might be from America, it might be from England, it might be from Ireland, but I could always tell if it was an Irish person who had written it, because I could tell from the handwriting. The nuns drummed this into us. The other thing, actually, in those days, they needed to save paper. So rather than a letter in envelopes, very often they'd have kind of postal sheets. So you'd write your letter, and then you would turn it over, and your letter became the envelope as well. And I remember in my youth, when my father was in America, we would use these very thin pieces of paper, and you'd write very small so you get as much as you possibly could onto your letter. So Rowland, he then, after his career with the postal system, he went on to the railways, and he worked on the London to Brighton Railway, and he reduced the price there as well. Anyway, in the fullness of time, in his 80s, he passed away, and he was so revered. There's actually a memorial to him. He was buried in Westminster Abbey. So there you have it. There is the gentleman there, you know, kind of an unsung hero. Thank you very much for watching. Please like and subscribe.